You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Okay, go.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin. Yep, he's there.
Hey guys, how's it going? How y'all doing this week?
Hey, David Hall.
Hello, hello.
Greg Hectus.
What's up, guys?
And after a long time, Tony Rochette.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
There you go. Well, on the show this week, we welcome back Evan Pasoko, the voice of eNASCAR, to review his first ever visit to the Circuit of the Americas. The Pro Invitational was also at COTA, and we'll review their races much more coming right up.
Also, remember that you can follow along with us on your mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. We hope to see you there.
After a complete new build, Grid Finder 2.0 is here and better than ever. Along with a brand new look, Grid Finder has made league searching even easier and much more enjoyable by adding more search options for the driver and giving league owners a better way to promote their league features and making it easier to connect with drivers with the brand new Join Now button. Make sure to check out www.grid-finder.com and find your place on the grid. Visit us to find a league or upload your own. Grid Finder is the home of online sim racing leagues. And Coke Race, Evan Pasoko, welcome.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back again.
Well, absolutely. We had a quick race this week because, no cautions, obviously, with the road trip course. But you guys had a late start, too, to the race. I had heard that they had set up the server to be Road Pro license only. So I think there were only 2 drivers eligible for that session, so that they had to reset up the session, and it looked like you guys were practicing your skills filling air.
Well, it's funny because we had a little bit of things that we were saving to talk during the race, right? Because it's going to be a green flag race all the way, and of course we had to burn it all, stalling to get to the grid. But yeah, they had to redo the session because of course they moved it from official sessions to league sessions this year. So fortunately, if an issue like this happened in the past, it would have taken 45 minutes to get a new session up. Fortunately, because it's in league, a second session went up, and then fun fact, the second session had an issue. So it actually took to 3 different sessions. So that's why we were a little bit late, but it was a shorter night on track, so it didn't hurt.
Yep, but it was all about the grid. Mitchell, 3/10 over Bobby for the pole. And that was pretty much, I would call, the winning move. Salas is right there. Vincent Salas, Bolin, Ottinger, Leahy, Mullis, Vincent, as far as the grid. And then turn 1, man, what a big one, I guess you would call it. But Bobby Zielinski gets turned. Ottinger locks him up just a bit getting in and spins Bobby. He ended up 13th. It put Mullis up to 2nd, Bolin, Leahy, Wilson, Vincent, Hurst, Reynolds, Maines, Conti after that first turn melee.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Pro Invitational race at COTA would have had a cleaner opening lap than the Coke race, right? And we kind of all knew that turn 1 was going to be a big question mark. And you mentioned it, Nick, just a little bit of a lockup. If I'm Bobby in that situation and I know that there's a pretty good chance that someone's going to overdrive one, I may have just probably gone a little bit wider in one just to give me some extra space. But he took the line that he was entitled to, but it just didn't give Ottinger any leeway. And if it's not like if it wasn't for Ottinger, it would have been fine because there were cars getting together on their own behind anyways. But of course, that's the big moment of the race, right? You talk about Mitchell out queuing him by several tenths of a second in the qualifying session. We weren't really expecting it to be by that much. And that didn't necessarily guarantee that Bobby wasn't going to have the race pace. So, I can't say that, Bobby didn't have a chance either way. But in the end, I think Mitchell would have won this race with or without that contact in turn one. Bobby was able to bounce back, as we'll talk about, but it really ended up hurting Nick Ottinger, who only got back to like a P27 after that spin. So it did hurt a couple of guys that started top five.
Yeah, and they all kind of spread out and got going after that. But later on, trouble. Ray Alfala gets clobbered by Ashton Crowder. Crowder's done for the night. Alfala actually got help from Logan Clampett in that one.
Yeah, and Ashton, I think, if I was reading it right, was the only driver that had a rookie road license, and he finished 40th. So I think Ashton kind of knew going into that one that things probably weren't going to be great for him. And I didn't pick up on a lot of things from our perspective, but there was a lot of drivers mad at Logan Clampett after the race. So I found that interesting.
Yep. And as you watch them race, it was pretty much kind of run how you came out of turn one after that. Not a lot of movers, but there was Blake Reynolds. He was fun to watch. He came 21st up to 7th. He was the biggest mover of the race so far at the lap 9.
Yeah, and there were some drivers who would slowly chip away. Like Blake, you mentioned, he got a bunch of spots right off of the get-go by surviving that incident. And Garrett Lowe picked up a handful of spots. And at that point, basically thought that Bobby's night was done. And he actually, despite the damage, did a pretty good job at trying to drive his way through the field. That was pretty fun for us to see. Obviously, at that point, knowing that by the time he righted the ship, Bobby's about 13 seconds off of the race lead. We knew that he wasn't going to catch Mitchell. He was going to have an issue hanging with Mitchell if he was alongside him, let alone 13 seconds behind him. But it was fun to see what Bobby could get out of that after it looked like his night could have been done entirely.
Yeah, he didn't have too much damage, so was able to continue forward. Nick Ottinger, on the other hand, he went to the back. He was running 37th at this point, beaten and battered. Lap 11, Mitchell leads Mullis by 4.5 seconds, and that just continued to grow. And then 20 to go, started. 19 to go, a bunch of the top 10 pitted, including Bobby.
And we had thought that maybe there would be two-stop strategy. That's what's made some of the Watkins Glen races over the years in this series so good, and the Sonoma races so good was some of the varying strategy between the one stoppers, the two stoppers, or what have you. But even though some people came in, still 5 laps shy, 6 laps shy of the halfway point, everybody was roughly on the same strategy. So those guys who went for the short pit obviously had the advantage because as things would cycle through, they got track position. But it played out like it would have on an oval, right? The guys who pitted later had the fresh rubber more in that end run and were able to reel them in. That was where most of the strategy came from because other than that, everybody agreed on the strategy. It was just how early or how late did you want to pit. And I don't know how much of a factor that little bit of a difference in when you came down pit road was. I think most of the time made up or lost tonight was just based on speed. When you have these races with no cautions, does pit strategy matter? If everybody's on the same cycle, a little bit matters more if we had varying ones. But for the most part, we didn't see too much happen through pit stops.
Except for Keegan Leahy on cold tires after pitting. Drives it nose first into the barrier, loses maybe 10 seconds, and he does what I call a Mike Ellis. He drives it in there with and totally kind of what I call a brain fart, and just kind of totally misses the corner and just misses it. And it's so easy to do at this track; it's super hard.
Yeah, he admitted that he just he forgot about turn one, right? You're coming off of pit road. You're trying to get up through the gears. You're probably taking a look next to you, seeing who's coming up alongside, and you're on the very, very inside of the racetrack, right? You got to stay all the way to the left for a good run up that hill before you're allowed to blend. So it's not like you can come out of pit lane, then go over to the right-hand side and take the corner like you normally would. So it's a very different corner when you're up on the inside versus that very wide arc, and then you cut in with a very late apex. So you just missed it. I can't say that it was that challenging of a pit exit because he was really the only one to blow it by that much. And just goes to show you that it's easy to have that little, lapse in concentration for a split second, and even some of the best like Keegan can make a mistake. And fortunately, he was able to back it up and keep on going, and ended up finishing a handful of positions back from where he started on the grid. I think a couple of those may have been due to that incident because I think it cost him 2-3 spots on the cycle. But overall, I think Keegan lost more spots on track than he did on that mistake. But it happens, man. It happens to the best. So next time I do it in a hosted session, I won't feel as bad.
Okay, and then leader Mitchell DeYoung is the last one to pit, and he actually retains the lead. There's about 15 to go at this point. You did point out, Evan, a good look at the pit lane and that new temporary pit lane, pit wall that they added just for the NASCAR race. I'm interested to know if you know, is this one of those things that started at iRacing and now they're using it for real this weekend, or vice versa?
I would assume that they looked at it on iRacing, but I don't think that it actually got added until the most recent patch, which was just several days ago. And I think timeline-wise, they would have actually have built it out in real life before it ended up on the sim. But I mean, iRacing's got a top secret copy of the short track at Auto Club somewhere, right? So I wouldn't be shocked at all if they consulted iRacing on it, just logistically speaking, to see more so maybe measurements where you would want to put it on the pit lane, because I saw a lot of kind of intrigued or confused comments on social media when some pictures were started to be posted at the racetrack from this week, and there were those jersey barriers linked together on pit road, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, there's no pit wall there, right? So I noticed that in the chat on Twitch and figured it was a noteworthy thing to mention. I would imagine it was less involved, compared to the stuff like last year when iRacing mapped out chicanes at Daytona for NASCAR, but certainly wouldn't be shocked if they had a hand in it, just trying to see how it would work with spacing.
Yep, exactly. See how many they need and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Just the quantity, that kind of stuff. But anyway, between, as we get down here, the next one was 11 to go. The action on track was Garrett Lowe got kind of bullied by Mike Conti, and that was a really fun battle to watch. But everyone else was just kind of riding, and Mitchell was just extending that lead.
He was checking out and, ends up winning this by a ridiculous margin. But there was a couple of good battles. You mentioned the battle, with Lowe and Conti, and then we saw the likes of Salas, Duval in the mix as well. The Kerwins, the Reynolds, the Mainses. Taylor Hurst we didn't talk a ton about, but he was able to sneak up for a top 10 finish kind of in the middle of battles. But, you had your top, I would say, with the exception of Bobby making some, the late race pass on Wilson and Wilson hanging out, for the most part, not much happened inside of the top 5. Now, granted, Jimmy Mullis started 7th. He had to drive out the P2, but a lot of that happened in the first half of the race, and Mullis was set up for that on the run to the end. So at that point, most of the positions top 5 were decided, and it was a group of 2 here, a group of 3 there, kind of around the top 10, a little bit further back. That gave us the most entertaining stuff in the second half.
Yeah, with as we boiled down to it, with 10 to go, it was 11-second lead. Mullis, then Boland, and like you said, Zielinski got clear up to 4th, and then Steven Wilson, a great run as a rookie in 5th. Alfala eventually brings it behind the wall. He'll end up 38th. We had a nice interview with him about that. But, a good battle there between Vicente and Dylan. Bob Bryant. Bob was kind of getting a little aggressive there. I mean, taking him 3 wide. And I'm like, wow, 3 wide on at the end of a road course.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And I think that, what we hear is that this racetrack is so wide, probably wouldn't get away with that at a Sonoma or a Watkins Glen. But Coda's wide, and they definitely used it. We saw, I don't remember who it was up front. It might have been Garrett Maines, who was really working the track limits, right? Going way over the curbs and using basically every little bit of paved part that he could. That's stuff that's unique to Coda that we saw come into play is guys really using all that extra space they had.
Well, I've run a couple races there, Greg. We ran last night. It's like that backstretch is a game of chicken almost. When you get side by side going down that long backstretch, it's like who's going to break first, or break last, I should say.
Well, there's so many different braking zones I found with each person. Like everybody has a different marker, and when you get down, if you miss it even by like 10 or 15 meters, that's it for the corner. Like you either blow into if the guy's on the outside and the guy on the inside misses, you either running the guy on the outside off the track or just missing completely. But that is one of the toughest straights because you get so much speed.
Yep. And so with that, Mitchell DeYoung wins it. He makes it 8 different winners in 8 different races. I mean, you couldn't even script this flag to flag, and it's his first win ever.
Yeah, and he's now the best qualifier all year, right? On pole at Daytona, Atlanta, and now COTA. Of course, Keegan has a pair in there as well. So 5 of the 8 races have had a 2311 car on pole. That's about the only time where there's any trend, because other than that, it's different race winners. I believe with Mitchell getting the win, 2311 is now the first team with 2 wins. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, I mean 8 different winners in 8 rounds. Besting, I should say, the record set in 2010 when we went 7 before Richard Taylor won his second race in the 8th race of the year, and I don't think they're going to stop. I'm officially convinced at this point that we're going to have more than 10 different race winners. There are 6 races to go in the regular season. There were 2 spots available on points. I am pretty sure that we're going to have a driver with a race win that is not going to make the playoffs for the first time in series history. I bet that's not what anybody was expecting when we said win and you're in. And if this was years past, we'd already be full, right? So thankfully for those guys on points, if they want any hope, the fact that they have those 10 transfer spots this year instead of 8 that what we've had in the past. But there's Bobby Zalenski. I think unless Mitchell sweeps the road courses, which he could, but I think Bobby might be a little bit more comfortable at some of the tracks that we've been to before. I think you got to think Bobby Zalenski's got a good look for a race win. Nick Ottinger doesn't have a race win. Casey Kerwin doesn't have a race win. It would be crazy if those drivers don't make the playoffs just based on the fact that there would be no points paying spots in.
Yep. And so we talked about the top 5, and then 6th through 10th was Corey Vincent, Casey Kerwin, Blake Reynolds, Garrett Maines, great run for him, and Taylor Hurst rounding out the top 10.
There's a lot of good finishes for drivers picking stuff up, and I just think overall I enjoyed the race. COTA's not going to be, I think we expected it, and I think you'll see this coming weekend. COTA's not a track that's going to be a thrilling door banging. I mean, it could in the right circumstances, but the track's so big that it's going to come down to speed. And obviously, talking about trends was the fact that Bobby Zalenski had won 6 road course races in a year. Going into Tuesday night, he had led every single lap in the last 4 road course races in series history. To see somebody like Mitchell walk through there and lead every single lap, I think is history in and of itself, not to mention the context of him being the 8th different winner. So it's continues to be a crazy 2021 season. And like I mentioned previously, I'm convinced we're not done. I think we're going to have some more race winners, and it's going to make for an awfully interesting end to the regular season.
Yeah, and for Mitchell, it's one checkbox in a list of checkboxes he needs to do to get to the playoffs, because he's 17th in points. He's still got to perform.
He needs to stay top 20. Playoffs. If he can't stay top 20, that win's not going to matter. Right. So he's going to have to perform at the Charlottes, at the Poconos, at the New Hampshires, at the Michigans. Now, he's I would say pretty much guaranteed a lot of points at Road America at Watkins Glen. Even if for whatever reason he can't find the speed he did this week and dominating Zalenski or Conti or some of those other guys get up in the mix, those are races that he knows within a reasonable doubt he's going to get good points at. But Mitchell does need to translate some of that qualifying speed I was touting him about into some race speed, because he needs to stay top 20. Otherwise, that win doesn't matter.
Yep. Okay. Looking forward, what do we expect on the next race?
It's the longest race oval-wise distance of the year, and we don't have to wait any more weeks. So we're back at it next Tuesday from Charlotte Motor Speedway, 200 laps. So it's our 300, our answer to the Coke 600. And Charlotte's kind of a return to what we expect. It's going to be a lot like a Vegas that you saw earlier this year. I'm torn because it's a track that everybody has so many laps at, which makes me want to think that with all the big names that haven't won yet, that it's got to be a prime position for a ninth different winner. At the same time, I could easily see a Keegan, a Ryan, even a Vicente or somebody else get up there and get a win. But I just feel it in my gut. I don't know if it's going to continue for 9 out of 9, but I still think we're going to get several different race winners. Charlotte should be interesting, though. It's a normal race, and that's not to say it's not exciting. Strategy is going to be different because it's longer than any others, and hopefully everybody tunes in and checks it out.
Yeah, I'll go out on a limb. I'll pick a dead zone driver.
Okay. Bold prediction, right? Talking about speed.
Right, that's like half the field or something. Right? No, hey, Evan, we certainly appreciate you coming on talking this race with us. And hey, we'll look at Coke next week, and it should be fun.
Absolutely. We got Road to Pro tonight as well from Charlotte. So, a lot of the teams are going to be eyeing that. Trucks aren't really that comparable to the Cup cars. They are a lot more than they used to be. But it's Charlotte week, so it'll be a ton of fun, guys, and I'll catch up with you next week.
Okay, very good. We're happy to have you. We'll see you then.
Take care, guys.
Time for some news. We're going to jump in talking about the next-gen car first. We have several forum posts talking about this one. And the first one that came up was discussing whether or not the car information that iRacing has actually came from guesses or actual data. Sasha Milazaveljic, I slaughtered that name. He was asking that, and then staffer Eric Hudick came in and said that they basically have been a part of the development process. And we've already discussed this, but they came in and definitely defended the car and the fact that they have been a part of the prototyping.
Yeah, pretty cool to get some details, right?
Know what this car is like until you put 40 of them on a track together. So, we got it to this point right now, and we'll see what it is when they finally get some real data when they're racing it.
Yes, but they can put 40 of them on the track in the sim, right? The air doesn't work the same way in sim, but they're not just guessing. It's not a complete fantasy car like the IR01 or something like that.
No, I get that. Like I'm saying, is we're never going to have anything to compare it to until they're all out on the track, right?
Mm-hmm. Matt Holton also chimed in and said that the spoiler is going to be about the same size. One notable thing is the newer car is not capable of the same speed. It's going to be only 550 horsepower. I guess the current car is the same, but this one seems to be more restricted in some ways.
But they've talked about this in other podcasts that they haven't yet to really fully announce that, and they might not announce it until like January next year.
So
that kind of brings us to the next item in this little section. Is that where you were going, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a poll that was put out. It basically, is NASCAR going the right direction? And I should have read closer before I gave my answer to the poll, but it basically is asking, should they add more horsepower? And 73% of iRacers think yes.
Yeah, 73%.
I don't get why NASCAR keeps going through this low horsepower, keeping them tight. It sucks.
Well, it's also the Premier Series, so shouldn't it be faster than the lower series, like by a decent amount?
Faster and harder to drive.
So I had an interaction on Twitter, well, not really, but this guy Tim Clark, who's the vice president of something at NASCAR, he's like trying to be in this conversation after the race about how everyone loves the high horsepower packages, and why would we want 550? on Twitter because the Twitter mob and everything. And so he post up a job posting for a NASCAR social media director, and he puts a tweet out that says, okay, why don't you guys come help us figure out how many people actually like this high horsepower package. And I replied to him and I said, well, I'll save you the money, Tim, why don't you just go ask Carl.
So I know they say that you can't really tell a difference between the low horsepower and the high horsepower. All the Michigan races I've seen the cars go 216 in a turn one. You can definitely tell a difference between 216 and 185. Higher horsepower makes it a lot better racing.
Where you can tell the difference is whether or not they have to lift, right? That's really what it comes down to. Is it harder to get through the corner, or are they all just flat footing it? And you don't. I've had some success with the package, but I don't think it makes for good racing.
Agreed.
Yep.
You used to actually have to drive it to get off the corner or drive it in. I know a lot of people say that they want the center of the corner shows the true driver. I always thought that if you could get off the corner at a place like, say, Martinsville, when you got to put down 900 horsepower and try and do that for 200 laps, that's pretty tough stuff to do.
Well, I don't know how much of it is package related or just experience related, but a couple of years ago, before this package came out, my best place was the 1.5 miles on the higher horsepower, and then it wasn't so great at some of the short tracks like Phoenix and Martinsville. Now with this package flipped, I'm struggling to keep up at Kansas, but then I'm almost front running at Martinsville. So it's got a whole different crew of people in there. Is it harder? Is it easier? Is it just more suited to their style? I don't know, but I just don't think it makes for better racing.
Well, I think the package that they had at Darlington, was it was the higher horsepower, the smaller spoilers and lower grip. That made for a lot better racing. People were getting sideways coming off the corner. People were self-spinning pretty much. You never see that in 1.5 miles anymore. Everything's so stuck to the track. Just doesn't happen anymore.
So yeah, it's rare to see somebody spin out unless you're Ricky Stenhouse.
Well, that kind of wraps that. What if we were to come back to the old package, or maybe just come back to iRacing?
Yeah, welcome back, guys. Anybody who has not renewed their service, they are offering a 25% off discount members who are returning to the service after being terminated, not terminated, but kind of elapsed, if you've elapsed your subscription. So there's two promo codes, a PR25 OFF ONE 521. That's for a 1-year return subscription at 25% off, and then there's a PR25 OFF TWO 521 promotional code for a 2-year renewal at a 25% discount. So more discounts coming. The timing of this, to me, suggests that they might have had a drop off after 1 year, after everybody signed up during the initial pandemic issue, and they want to get people back on, be my guess. I don't know that for sure, but the timing seems to indicate they want people to come back online whose memberships expired, and that would be people who have used up their 1 year after the pandemic.
And I don't think this is for people that are a current member about to renew. I don't think you can use this. This is like if you let it lapse and you need to turn it back on, right?
Yeah.
So could I let it lapse like to a day and then I could get the discount?
If it lapses within the time period, I guess. I haven't seen a specific time period for this promotion. But if it's a limited time promotion, you would have to lapse within this certain time, which makes me think that's why it's connected to the boost that they probably had a little over a year ago, when everybody started, when their exposure was the highest during the pandemic and the prohibition started.
Yeah, sure. A marketing guy is going to say, "Oh, a group of these people bought 1 year, and a subset of those people didn't renew, and that's the group we're going after."
Yeah, let's get these people back who didn't renew after their 1 year. That's just my guess. The timing seems to suggest that's a possibility, but it's still a good promotion. 25% off. It's not bad.
I was just looking through the Facebook post here. Do you see? This is the same comments we get every time there's a thing here where it takes care of trying to get new customers. Do you see the negative comments about trying to take care of the actual customers you already have? It's like the whole thing on Facebook is all about that.
Squeaky wheel.
Well, yeah, it's just, you got to try and get some of these extra, I know you want to take care of your own customers, but if we don't add to the sim, we're not getting any more extra revenue, right?
Yeah, it's not like they never run any other missions. They always had the Black Friday, and they had one not too long ago for extending your service. So I think that this is just timed in a different way than what people normally see in their discounts for existing customers.
It reminds me of Verizon. The good deals on the phones are only for the new customers. All right, next up, this one is kind of odd to me, but Ken Byron announced on the forums that Ryko Motorsports are joining with NASCAR Cup driver Quinn Hoof, who will be using the setups to test and practice each week for his NASCAR races, along with running their setups in official races.
Insert pit road joke here.
So it's basically setups to figure how you come from the top line all the way down to get down to pit road in front of the pack.
So, I don't watch the races live because I work, and I don't know a lot about this guy, but just from what you gather, he's not really liked a lot as a good driver in the NASCAR Cup Series, right? Or do I have the wrong impression?
Is this post locked on the page? Because there's no comments on it. I can't believe there's no comments under this page.
You know what would be good? A comment is that GIF of the lady with saying WAT.
I mean, good on whatever, getting some exposure. I just, there's something about Quinn Huff that seems to rub people the wrong way, I guess, about his driving.
Well, some of it comes with how he got there. He didn't really come up through the ranks. He bought the ride. And they don't think he's qualified, and might not be wrong.
Exactly. And so, I don't know. I mean, it's great that he's got a Cup driver that's, working with him and, giving him some notoriety. But out of all of them, why that one? But, yeah.
I think probably the price they pay for Quinn Hoff is considerably less than what they would pay for somebody else who you'd recognize, I think.
On another note, it's a definite sign that there's no border or boundary between the esport NASCAR and real NASCAR now.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure marketing budgets are going forward are going to be a mix, of both. If you're a company that's marketing in motorsports or NASCAR, you're going to be involved in sim racing probably.
So guys, when this says Quinn will be using our setups to test and practice each week for his NASCAR races, so are they actually using like the iRacing setups and putting on his real car to see how it works? Because
I think they're just saying that it's going to allow him to practice for the track
on the sim. Yeah, I don't think he's going to use it in his real car.
that's what I would think, because I don't think they always transfer all over that weight that great. Not to mention, there's not a lot of practice going on nowadays anyway. And yeah, I don't think too many NASCAR drivers are gonna let these sim drivers make their setups.
The next one we have here is a quick hit. Eric Hudick also posted about COTA and its new track surface updates. All they say in the patch notes whenever they come out is track surfaces have been updated. Somebody asks, does this mean more grip? And in some fancy words, he says yes.
Yep.
Let's say
I
I
imagine
fix the
COTA.
off track.
I imagine you can use all the grip you can get at COTA with these cars.
You know, I mean, I'm still 6 or 7 seconds off the pros, but it's easier than Sonoma to me.
Hell yeah.
You mentioned off tracks. I mean, let's talk about that briefly. But they are aggressive, I thought. I mean, there's a few corners I think it could be relaxed a little bit.
We're not covering the invitational, are we?
Yeah, there's a thing in here about it.
Oh, okay. I'll say what I have to say about that later then. That brings us to not top 10, Brian.
Yeah, guys. So iRacing posted on their YouTube channel the not top 10 highlights for May. So there's a couple of really good ones. The number one we covered last week is that's when the two Skip Barber cars crashed right coming to the finish line, and they both could not move, and they were literally inches from finishing the race. That was the number one. But my favorite was actually number two, which was a similar issue where it was like about 10 cars. I think they were Indy cars or open wheel cars, and none of them were able to finish. You know, they're all trying to cross the checker flag, and they're just barely moving, trying to get across there, inching their way. It was really funny. I really enjoyed that.
Here we are. So this is
Another
a
good one
safety car
that I
entering
really
the
liked
pits,
was
folks.
there was a midget car that was at Lernerville, and Lernerville's track, the dirt track at Lernerville, if you don't know, the pit stalls are outside of the track. It's the only track I know of where the pit stalls are outside of the oval, not on the infield. And a car got out of sorts going into turn 3. He zipped right into the pit stalls and ran around that whole pit area and rejoined the track at the exit of turn 4. It was really cool too.
The one of the Indy cars at Talladega just all pile up coming to the checker, and the damage model is on, and they all only have 1 or 2 wheels, and it's like now it's a race to the checker. You got 5 or 6 different cars all damaged, and this guy's trying to limp across the line. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's
See the one where the guy tried to finish going backwards?
Yes, it was crazy because he got turned and right before the finish line, he's trying to go past that, get to the checker flag backwards, and another car comes up around the corner, the P2 car, and it's like a photo finish. One car going forward, one going backwards, and the guy going backwards just lost like hundredths of a second.
Poor Barney's arm has got to be worn out.
Caution.
He just keeps throwing that checkered flag until they get across the line.
And he's so quick with it.
It's a violent a whip down with the flag.
I say he must be proficient with the weight jacker.
And there was another incident in a pit road where I think it was a Lamborghini went sideways into the pit road, and they call it like the perfect Austin Powers.
Corvette.
It was a Corvette. I'm sorry, and they were. He was stuck. He could not move forward like an inch, backwards an inch. He was perfectly stuck sideways and could not move at all.
But then they have a bunch of Mazdas that stuff it in the same spot later too. Next video.
So, Greg, would you hang one of these in your sim den?
Mike, you want to take it for a sec? I clicked out here.
Yep. This one is the Alfredo's iRacing body panels have gone up for sale at the racing warehouse. And from the car that he raced with the iRacing paint job on it. And there's the back bumper, so to speak, with the tail lights. And it does say iRacing in between the tail lights. He's got the 38 door panel, it looks like. And then a quarter panel that's pretty well crushed in, and it has iRacing across the top. Now, I went to the website as soon as this was posted, and they were already sold.
I don't remember from Martinsville. Was he beaten up that bad on the track?
It says fresh off of Martinsville track, so. But a lot of people hang NASCAR stuff in their racing den. What do you think, Tony?
I'd take that back bumper and put it right above my rig.
Take that back bumper and put it behind your rig.
So it's like a real bumper?
Yeah, but
right.
The Racing Warehouse website, they've got body panels from all kinds of different cars if you're interested in that kind of thing. So that's a pretty cool website. But yeah, I did the same thing, Mike. As soon as I saw the story, I went on and checked it out. And Alfredo's stuff was long gone.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Moving on the NASCAR website in the galleries menu, they have posted some of the best paint schemes for the next gen Cup painted for iRacing. And so Steve Luvender, who's the founder of Trading Paints, and he's also the head writer over there at NASCAR, he put together an article basically, picking out what he liked out of Trading Paints for the next gen car. What do you guys think? Which one did you like the best? I mean, the 14 Ford is just awesome, where they got the big old Ford across the quarter panel, but it's like giant size, so it kind of almost even goes down close to the numbers on the door because it's so big.
At least we have a 3-car on the right manufacturer this week on here.
The Goodwrench Service 3, yep.
I kind of like the old Dale Jarrett 88 one too. That's a pretty nice one.
Now I noticed that none of these have the numbers, forwards or backwards, and there's been a lot of discussion about that too.
Well, that DoorDash one's kind of what you could do with it. Do you notice that they kind of got to slant some of the advertising just to get, because the back end's not as long?
By slanting it, they can bring it down into the door area a little bit more and extend it almost up to the deck lid. That if you look at the Ford car, they kind of do it the same way.
I was gonna say Tony probably would run this Sunoco car because it's brightly colored.
No, the paint that Bobby's making for me, the base looked pretty awesome. I can't wait for that car to be done.
All right, guys. So we're moving on here, and the awards just keep rolling in for Josh Rogers. Well, obviously he had a stellar, fantastic season in the Porsche Super Cup Series, and he gets another award as he takes home the Overtake Award, and one of the prize for that is a brand new racing helmet, and it's a fantastic looking helmet.
Boy, it sure is. You only get the front view of it, but I just love the color scheme. It looks like almost a dark purple and maybe some pink or red on it. Very, very classy looking.
You mean Coanda Motorsports type?
Yeah, maybe it is a Coanda paint scheme.
You know what's So that having the most overtakes, because obviously he was up front a lot, but he would get inverted that the next race, so that would be why he's passing a lot more.
Yeah, probably because if you win if you win the pole award, you're still starting in first place in the sprint, but then you get inverted to 8th place in the main feature, and he did that quite a few times, and overtook a lot of cars just because he was got the invert.
And that was a long 2-minute wait as David Hall comes back on headset.
Did you already finish up Brian's topic?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the neat thing about the internet podcast is you can hop in and out, right? We got some release notes from Patch 6, Hotfix 1. A bunch of UI stuff with launching connectivity, and up next, and then we jump into Race Series. They fixed an issue for the for a series which would show that it'd be sorted by drivers but actually weren't, and then it fixed an issue where drivers were not working correctly, or a number of drivers wasn't working correctly. Fixed some issues with car classes, some changes to the tooltips. I think a lot of that is UI interface.
I think all
is it all? I don't know. No, because there's some ads and signs that have been updated at Coda.
Oh,
So they did do that. They did do that, and there's some damage model stuff on the archive. Bunch of little stuff. So check her out.
Looks like they updated another thing here for so we don't have to rely on third-party setups for the Indy 500 here. So Greg West announced on the forums that they're dropping some competitive race and qualifying setups in the upcoming Indy 500. So they've posted them in the I guess they're in the actual setups page. They're in their setups now. But he just talks about them, just shows that the times, they're actually pretty good times that they have on here, if I remember correctly from our majors race.
So, who's all running the Open Indy 500? Tomorrow night? Tony, you're doing it?
Yep.
I'm going to do it Saturday morning, I think. I'm going to run Coda again tomorrow night.
If I can get my wheels sorted, I'll run it with you. I need to get David to help me with that. But when I tried to run the Indy 500 fix, I had a problem with my wheel where it was oscillating really bad, and it was like undrivable, and I didn't have time to fix it because I showed up late as usual. But pretty cool, they're putting up competitive sets, so you can get those on the forums.
That's kind of what they did with the. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
I'll have to grab those.
Yeah, it's kind of what they did with the cup cars for NIS and stuff, where they put supposedly top split quality setups in the in your open setup races, so you can not have to really dig around for setups. You have something to work with if you need something to be competitive.
It's basically just to incentivize to get more people to race too, right? Because a lot of people don't. Most of the sites nowadays are pay for sets, right? So some people just don't do it, and at least here you can go and grab it and kind of be competitive, I guess. See how they stack up.
Okay, another Indy 500 was the Majors 500. We did see a barn burner of a finish with a margin of the 0.002 seconds. And of course, that was broadcast by Sim Speed Esports, and iRacing put up on the Twitter a video of that finish side by side as they came to the checkered. Pretty cool to see that after 500 miles. A couple of you guys ran in the Majors 500. How'd you do?
You want to go first, Dave, or do you want me? I'll go.
I finished all the way in the back because the fast repair broke. And I literally stopped like 7 or 8 times and it wouldn't do the fast repair. I finally, after going about 7 laps down, intentionally hit the pit wall to cause more damage, and then was able to use the fast repair. But at that point, it was already ruined. I was running mid pack, but it just put me all the way to the back.
And I was wrecked by a lapped car from P3. I was running P3 and we were about halfway. I was lapping. He was like 7 laps down and just doored me on the exit of a corner when he shouldn't even been on the outside of me. So that sucked, but it was a good race. So I'm excited for the 500 on Saturday.
Kind of a warm-up race, right?
Yeah.
I'll say I had 3 warm-up races last week, and we'll talk about that one later.
Okay, so Brian, how about NASCAR's warm-up race?
Yeah, guys. So Wednesday was the NASCAR Pro Invitational broadcasted on Fox Sports. So this race was at COTA, using the current cars instead of last week where they'd used the next-gen cars. So they're back in the current cars, and really, this turned out to be probably a really good primer for what they're facing this weekend. Get their first chance to really get on this track. In the pre-race, they said that they've had more actual drivers between NASCAR Cup trucks and Xfinity that have signed up for iRacing this week than they've ever had, because nobody's been on this track before. So that's really cool that they're using iRacing now to really learn these tracks they haven't been to before. We got another Road America is going to be coming up pretty soon, and I don't know how many of these real world drivers have experience on this track. Probably none of them with the Cup cars anyway. So this race took off on Wednesday, and one of the first things that we noticed was happened that was a lap with 16 laps to go. Clint Boyer, man, he's coming down the back stretch ready to pit, and he turns left late to get into the pit road and just sideswipes James Davison, who was actually winning the race. So he almost took out the leader on a really bad pit entry. It was pretty funny to watch.
Okay,
And
you're being kind when you say
he missed that. He wasn't even that. If you guys look in the first part there, the pit road starts at the top of that image. You can see it. He's going for the corner, not the pit road.
Past it, yeah. Yeah, that's
Apparently,
crazy. Clint Boyer's a fool out there.
Yeah, he was.
He's taking lessons from Quinn.
I thought on the broadcast they said that Jeff Gordon was kind of spotting for him and said turn left, because he didn't know where the pit entry was, and turned right into James Davison.
Well, he's already blamed Larry Mack last year, so he's going to go after Gordon this year.
I think he has a couple of drinks before he heads in that rig.
I think Clint has always had a couple of drinks in him before anything.
Now, I didn't get to watch the race. I was doing my spring concert that night, but I caught a replay of it actually pretty late and just saw the last few laps. And let me tell you, they were not having an incident limit. Did you see how much of the track they were using?
Oh, yeah.
I'll say I watched pretty much beginning and middle, and they were taking it real wide in some of those quarters, and I can barely touch the damn rumble strip and get a 1X.
No, there's only 2 places on the track where you can go past the rumble strips, really, onto the painted pavement.
Not the ones I want.
Yeah, they were all over the place. Now, the thing about the race was I was happy to see that they had a better start to the race than the Coke drivers did. I was kind of expecting the same thing, but they actually got through turn 1 pretty good.
Yeah, because that's a really tough turn 1 on this track. You're coming from a fairly long straight. You're going up to hill, so you probably can't even see the apex of that turn until you're
Especially
right on top
if you don't
of
have
it.
VR.
Yeah, until you're right on top of it, you probably can't even see that apex. So everybody's going from these high speeds to hit this. It's an almost a hairpin U-turn. It's so tight. And I kind of expect to see a lot of trouble there in real life over the next few days.
Well, the thing with that corner is you have to arc it. You got to start real high and come down, clip the center, and work your way out. But if somebody's trying to pass you, you're basically driving for the driver's door that's on the outside, trying to make that corner, and it just two into one just doesn't work very often that way, and that's why you see the accidents.
I'll say I was having fun in turn one last night, except for when there was a car coming off a pit road that kind of screwed you up a little bit.
There's no way that if it didn't have that incline going up the hill, you would get slowed down at all for that corner. You'd have to brake so far back to make that turn. The only thing that makes that turn is that the uphill is slowing you down.
So let's talk about James Davison. Greg, this is the guy who beat you guys in the 24-hour race. Remind me, how much faster a lap was he than the rest of y'all?
Was it 2 seconds? I think over a run it was about 2 seconds a lap.
Yeah, he put a lap on me in my second hour of my run.
Yeah, he's pretty fast. He's a very, very confident driver too if you watch him.
Yep, and he won the race. He dominated. Nobody had nothing for him, but his history, and he talked about this in his winning interview. He has a lot of history at this track. He run some different road series at this track, and he's won here before. So in real life, obviously, and like you said, when you raced against him in the 24, he's just quick on road, and he proved it, man. He proved he belongs.
I'll say he's been quick all throughout the Pro Invitational. I think I heard him say every race he's been in top 5 or top 10.
Right, and obviously he's on iRacing a lot, and that's making the difference.
Guys, one quick comment about the broadcast. I know, David, you said you just caught the end of it. I watched the whole thing. I thought the coverage was a little better this week compared to the last, as far as the things we were talking about early with the joking and the stuff like that. It seemed to be not quite as bad. Mike Joy had a lot of information at the beginning in the pre-race show about how helpful this has been for some of the drivers. So it wasn't quite as bad as it has been as far as the jocularity and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have noticed that.
Maybe he heard our show.
That could be.
You did say that, Mike. You were wondering if that was what happened when you were in our messenger.
Yeah, I didn't get to really watch the broadcast. I mean, I kind of watched it, but I didn't listen to it, really. So I didn't really get to hear it like Brian did. But that's good to hear. I'm glad that he's taking a different tone with it.
Yeah, he definitely sounded a little more subdued with joking around a little bit.
It makes you wonder if if the people at Fox or iRacing may have noticed it too. If we've noticed it, other people noticed it.
Yeah, I would see probably more likely iRacing has said something to Fox, and Fox relayed the message. Would be my guess. It's been an ongoing issue about the past 2 weeks, and I'm going to bring it up one more time real quick. We had the emailer, a listener from last week, who was very critical of Mike Joy, referenced the podcast that he was on, and we talked about that a little bit. I actually went back and listened to that podcast, and Mike Joy's his comments on iRacing in that interview, I can understand how it was taken, because he was very dismissive. He did point out some of the benefits of iRacing, but ultimately dismissed it kind of as a game, in my opinion. One of the biggest criticisms of iRacing that he had was two things. Is that there's the biggest was there's no serious detrimental effects from crashes and stuff like that. He said if you want to make it more real, if you get in a crash, throw a bunch of $100 in the fire and smack your head against the wall with a bat or something like that. which is an interesting, outlook on it, and it kind of made me think that would iRacing would the races be better as far as cautions go if there was more of a downside to having accidents other than just losing some SLR, losing some I rating or something like that. Um, I thought that was kind of an interesting point he made. I don't, I wouldn't say I completely agree because we all know how seriously we take it and how upset we get and stuff when we get involved with nonsense like that. But would iRacing be better if there was more of a deleterious effect if you did those kind of things?
Here's an idea. How about they stop giving, David says this every time too, stop giving them quick repairs. That'll make it look a little bit different. There are consequences when you wreck, you're out.
That's a good point for sure.
And you take it into leagues as well, and there's protest systems, or just or like with old bastards, if you cause an incident, you have to start in the back the next week, right? Some things to help bring more consequence to mistakes.
I also think that if we get an actual up-to-date damage model on some of these cars that they're actually racing with, you can take more seriously that way.
Yeah, I don't know if a downside is realistic. I don't think people would do it if there's a downside. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's going to be differences. I mean, it is a simulator, but not to that degree.
Yeah, the downsides reminded me of stuff you see in games that have like racing games with career modes, where you get you get money for finishing a certain race or having to repair cars, and I just don't think that's the way iRacing would want to go with their sim. But that's the only other thing that I can think that parallels what he was saying.
Hey, we're in career mode. NIS is career mode. I've been doing NIS for 7 years.
We can move on to the next topic, which is the iRacing iRock series. Our teammate, Kyle Pendergraph, is one of the admins of this series. It's beginning on Thursday, May 27th. And you also, with this series, have a chance to win a Track Time Entertainment rig with a triple mount stand.
Yeah, $25 per entry. You purchase at the website. You can enter as many times as you like, and they're going to draw it live on the Facebook page on Saturday, June 5th.
And then we also have information on how the league is going to run. It's sponsored by Spartan Logistics Management, and it's called the iRacing iRock Challenge Series. All the races are going to be 200 laps or 200 miles, whichever one comes first. They're going to be a 50 stage, 30 or 50%, 30%, and 20% of the race stages. And the stages do reward points. However, the top three then get an EOL penalty for the next stage. Also, there's heat racing for any of the shorter tracks, anything that's 1 mile or less. 50% fuel for the races. That means tire wear is going to be kind of less of a factor. 3 extra sets of tires. I guess that means for the whole race. And there's no fast repairs except for the super speedways.
I like the idea of put the 3 stage winners to the back.
That is interesting. I don't know if I don't know what it does to the strategy, because a lot of times in the real race with the stage, if you stay out and go for the stage win, you may pass up the opportunity to have track position after the stage starts anyway, because then you have to go ahead and get tires when some other guy may have pitted with 5 to go.
Or is there a strategy to race for 4th, and not try to be the top 3? So how do we get involved here? I don't know if I saw the website.
Yeah, it's iRock-series.com, or you can go to their Facebook page /iRacing iRock.
Nice. Okay. And that's a week from today. So guys, if you're going to get in on this, man, that rig looks nice that they're giving away. And, how many people are really going to put in an entry? I think the odds are going to be pretty good. I mean, think about it. If they fill the league up, that's 40 people, right? So your chances of winning this rig is 1 out of 40. I mean, I'm willing to gamble $25 on this. Kyle, take my money.
Exactly.
So I'm going to sign up for sure.
Yeah, and if I don't know if David said it, but they're racing the trucks. So it's the trucks they're running.
I didn't see it actually on the page, believe it or not, on the flyer.
It's not on the flyer actually, but I do remember that last week.
What cars are running in this charity race that we're looking to run here, Tony?
Oh, you just set me up wrong. I was gonna set you up. You can win that 80/20 rig, and then you could possibly win some Midwest Simulation spotter lights with the charity race that we're about to run on June 11th. It's like I sent you guys the message last week. Save the date for June 11th at 9 p.m. We are going to run 100 laps at Michigan, Cup cars and Xfinity cars. The charity is going to be Project K9 Hero. We did a race with them last year with Burning Rubber Radio. We're bringing them back. They are a great charity. They help out service dogs with medical bills and rehoming and everything else. And this race is going to be, hang on, wrong page. We're going to have a link to sign up. It's going to be a minimum of $25. But just like last year, you sign up, you're going to get a free T-shirt. You guys like those T-shirts that you got last year, right?
Yep.
Yep, same here.
And also with that, it's not going to be the classes they're going to have separate winners. So if you win the A Cup car class, you're going to get a spotlight. You win the B Cup class, you're going to win a spotlight. Same thing with pole. Pole winner is going to get $10 iRacing credit. And then we're going to have another $10 for the best paint with the Project K9 Hero logo. Just stay tuned for that. Look for social medias where to sign up. It's going to be pretty simple. You're going to be donating to their page, so none of the money goes to us. It's going to go directly to them. If you're feeling more generous, go right ahead and donate more. Then just contact us through Facebook or Discord or email confirmation, and we'll definitely get you guys signed up.
Tony,
you just send us a message basically saying, "Hey, I gave him the $25, right?"
Yeah.
Tony, the classes here between the two of them, there's no restrictions to those classes. They're just full out with all their horsepower and everything. There's no balance of power problems.
No, there's going to be no balance of power. I was toiling around with a little bit of cutting the fuel a little bit in the Cup car because they're going to have like a 4-lap advantage for fuel, but we'll figure it out.
So Tony, have you or anybody tested those two cars on track at the same time? How do they compare to each other?
Yeah, actually, David and I and Rose and Dwayne MacArthur there at Old Bastards, we had a little test session a couple weeks ago, and the Xfinity car is actually drafts really well with the Cup car. Cup, like David said last week, Cup car's got a little more advantage in the corners, but yeah, as long as I think if you're in a big group, I think it's going to be pretty equal.
Okay, so there's a Google Doc link for sign up. So we're going to put that out on social media after the show here. So you guys hit up on the Twitter or the Facebook and you'll find it. Definitely. What else do they need to do besides the Google Doc link, Tony?
There's a link for the donation on Google Doc. They're going to put your name, email, your iRacing name, 3 numbers that you're going to want in your T-shirt size.
There you go. So they can send you the shirt, and let's get a big turnout, guys. The iRacers Lounge likes to get involved with a charity, and this is the one that we've worked with before. And Tony, well done on getting this organized.
Well, a little bit of delay. My secretary was kind of sleeping on the job.
All right. Podcast housekeeping. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. I guess, Tony, you're here, so give us some kind of preview.
Well, if I'm hearing right, that somebody on this podcast is going to be our special guest this week.
Well, there you go. So you have to tune in to find out. Don't forget the Midwest Simulations spotlights. You can actually get 10% off if you buy those with the code iRacers Lounge. And we're at Performance Motorsports Network, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. And with that, fantasy, Brian.
Yes, guys, fantasy. So after this past weekend's race, we still have Just in Time 9 is still at the top of the running board. Oh, baby, 44 is second place. Scotty Boy's in third. Res Dog is tied for him in third. And Racing Goodyears is in fifth. A big jump for Tony Groves. He's up to sixth now. He surpassed Adam Jocelyn and for sixth place. So he's now the top Tifosi guy. So Greg's hanging around 11th place. A good race for Chris Scales. He's up to 12th.
Yeah, I had a bad race. I fell quite a bit.
I still suck.
Yeah. Tony's in 27th. Not sucking nearly as bad as I am. I actually got my picks in this week. I bid it and I put it in. I even watched the race to where I could use my garage pick because I had a Bush in the race, and he had that problem early where one of the cylinders wasn't firing and dropped a whole bunch of laps. So I was able to substitute him in. Didn't help me too much because it was a Kozlowski. I finished like 12th or 15th, something like that. But man, who would expect Hendricks to just dominate like that? 1 through 4, that is insane.
Who?
Hendricks.
So,
Who?
when I filter
Hendricks.
by the race only, I finished 32nd out of everybody. So I had a horrible race.
It's Hendrick.
Okay. I meant Hendricks as in there's Hendrick cars, plural.
I do want to give a shout out to the second place guy that won or second place at Dover this week that kicked Mr. Grove's ass by 4 points, Mr. Chris Scales.
But Chris finished pretty well in the standings on this race, which really bumped him up. Greg, you're hanging in there at 11th. Yeah, just ahead of Chris, too.
Yeah, I don't know what my issue is this year. I didn't miss any races except for a couple weeks ago. I forgot to make my picks, and
that's all it takes, right? 1 week to miss it. Okay, hardware, software. Brian, we got a new motion system here, the DK2.
Yeah, this is, was announced in the Facebook forums from Peter Sasinski. He announced that the next batch of DK2 Motor Pro motion systems will be available at the end of this month for ordering. I think we did a review on the DK2 system before. It's a nice platform style motion system with the individual actuators. You can get they sell a 3 actuator system for $3,900, and they sell a 4 actuator system for $4,900. So as far as motion system goes, that's fairly competitively priced. You've seen ones a lot more than that. There are some that are a little bit less than that, but they've actually have a pretty good rating. I remember Barry at the Sim Racing Garage had done a review of these, and he thought they were pretty good.
Right, and so the first batch sold out, and so this announcement, basically the next batch is coming available at the end of the month, which is coming up here in 10 days. So if you guys are interested, keep your eye out on this.
Yeah, they bolt directly to any 80/20 type of rig, so real easy mounting. So yeah, it's a decent system. So it's, if you're looking for motion, it's something you might want to consider.
I'm having a look here at this next item, and it's pretty neat. Simnetix. It's basically a lounge for iRacing. It's a sim. They have 10 in-house motion sims, and it looks like a combination of SimCube and Fanatec direct drives. They're all triple monitor. Very nice rigs. They've got the wind simulators. Looks like probably V3 pedals. And I'm taking a look at the website and struggling to tell where they're located. I'm going to guess somewhere in the Carolinas.
Yeah, this is cool. It's like you said, a lounge for iRacing. You and your buddies show up. I don't know if they serve alcohol but it looks like a place to have a party. Yeah, pretty cool. I hope that they can survive and do business. These kind of things you wonder if are they going to be able to make it long term, because that the cash outlay to have 10 motion sims all at once, and then the building to put them in, and the facility they're in is pretty nice. They have it really nice and kind of dark, but accent lights with purple and different things. There's a stripe on the wall that looks like a checkered flag, so racing motif look to it. It's pretty cool. Did you figure out where it is?
No, I thought one of y'all would have looked known, so I stopped looking.
I just found the website. It's simnetix.net is the name of it. And they're in Algonquin, Illinois. So that's a suburb of Chicago, I believe.
They ought to have turn that into a promotional event with the real drivers and get a bunch of them there when they do the street circuit.
Exactly. That's a great idea. And I interacted with these guys on social media a little bit, told them we'd be talking about their grand opening, which was actually this week. They just opened this place. And one of the social media posts that they have here on their Facebook shows that they had some famous rally car drivers in yesterday, and they had them up standing on their little podium they have for the winners 1, 2, 3. The guy's name was Piotr Fatala.
So, guys, Simnetix company, that's the company where I got my wind simulator and dashboard there from. So,
oh, really?
That's the brand that I got that from. It's so if you notice on the one picture with the wind simulator with the tube, that's exactly what I have, except mine comes up to the dash in the top center of the screen there.
So this is pretty cool. So they're a hardware company, and now they have a facility. Now, when you're on the website and you click on the simulators page, they show the 10 different simulators. And what's neat about this, guys, is each one of them's unique and different. Like each one of them, like one of them has a Sparco seat and the other one has an OMP seat. And there's multiple Sparco seats, but they're different style of seat. And then the wheels, some wheels are round, other wheels are formula style. Some are, road course or rally style. So each, you kind of pick which one is your poison kind of thing. And it looks like the price is $50.
Well, I would hope that they would have both sets of rims, a full set of both sets of rims, because I don't want to show up with 10 buddies and run Daytona with a Formula wheel.
a good point. When you click on one of them, like I clicked Simulator 8, it does show the SemiCube 2 base and OMP steering wheel, Housekeeping pedals, Club Sport shifter, and so forth.
I suppose some of that might come to be like if you're used to Phonetic and then you switch over to SimCube when you go to a different location, it might be a little weird.
Be a good little 3-hour road trip across the lake for me just to try out a direct drive then.
Okay, here it is. So the first hour is $50. The second hour is $90. So you get a price break. If you do 2 hours, it's $90 instead of $100. But for 3 hours, $120. Buy in bulk, book in bulk, and save.
You could spend almost that much at a go-kart track too, like say the one in the infield at Gateway. So not too bad. This next one I know has Brian salivating.
Yeah, guys. So there's been an announcement of a new VR headset. This one is the Vive Pro Part 2. And I haven't gotten exactly when they plan on releasing it, but I know you can pre-order now. So I'll go over a little bit of the specs of this real quick and give you some information about that. The resolution is 2448 by 2448 per eye. So it's almost like a 5K per eye, basically, which is higher resolution than the HP Reverb G2 has. So it's got a little bit better resolution. The refresh rate can be 90 or 100, 120 hertz. So it's a little bit. The HP G2 has a 90. So if you can get it 120, it'll have a little bit faster refresh rate. The field of view is up to 120 degrees, which is really wide. That's like most closing in on how big the Pimax headset are. It's certainly much wider than the G2, and I think it's even wider than the Valve Index. So it's got some really good specs.
So price is £659 for the headset by itself, but the full package with a pair of base stations and the controllers is $1,300.
Correct. So if you have if you already are using the Vive Pro 1, the original Vive Pro, you can buy this with just the headset and you'll be fine, ready to go. Which is price-wise, which would be pretty decent, £600. But if you don't have any of that stuff, if you're switching over from the G2, like I would be, then you have to get the base station and the controllers, and that's going to put you well over $1,000 for that set. So, so I think, in my opinion, I'm probably going to stay with what I have rather than upgrade to this unit, just because I don't want to spend all that extra money on those base stations and stuff. I haven't really seen how big a hit it's going to take on the graphics cards. Right now, the G2 runs okay on a 2080 Supers, which I have. From what I've read so far, this is going to be like a 2080 is going to be like almost the minimum specs. When you start bumping up the resolution in these headsets, it really starts to take a hit on your graphics card. So I'm going to say my recommendation is, if you're going to get this head, you should have a 3000 series or equivalent graphics card. You're going to need a pretty high-end computer. So other than that, though, I'm really interested to see some more reviews on this as people start getting their hands on them and see how it looks. But very impressive specs at this point.
Now, if you were buying VR for the first time, I mean, I'd be looking at this one probably.
Price is pretty high, though.
It is pretty high, and like I said, you're going to have to get all that base station stuff if you don't have it right now. So if it's the first purchase in VR, you're going to be plunking down some big bucks. But if you can upgrade, the valve index also has the same exact base stations as this. So if you have a valve index, you wouldn't have to buy all that extra stuff either.
But if you're starting fresh and you want to get the best money you can buy without getting the X-Tal, or paying some real crazy money, I mean, this is kind of the one to get, I think. We'll have to see, no, it's an unknown because nobody has tried it on iRacing yet. So, and what graphics card really drives it, like you said, that's kind of an unknown.
Correct. Once I start watching some hands-on videos with when people start getting early production models, I'll update and see how it's running. But if resolution is king, then this is going to dethrone the HP G2, HP Reverb G2, as far as resolution goes. If that's king for you guys.
Okay. Next up, an update to my ambient lighting project. So I decided to double down and spend more money. So I did find some Philips Hue bulbs eventually that will fit in my ceiling fan above. And I bought 3 of them because it takes 3 and they're $50 each. So that was $150. So I already spent, $140 and then I spent another $150. But I like it. And so the other change I did is I took the LED strip that I had mounted on the ceiling above me and moved it down here below my triple monitors. And I kind of have it taped, but I'm going to Velcro it. But it's basically running as a strip along the bottom of the left, center, and right monitor. And initially it was pretty bright as you're racing, but it works. And, I was telling Brian, as we were racing the other day, it's kind of bright, but guess what? We're in the sun. We're racing in Texas at COTA. It is bright outside. And so it does give an ambient lighting effect. And it was neat to have it not, real visible in front of me, below the monitors, having it, in my peripheral vision, so to speak, really has increased the effect more so than I had before. And so I think I'm liking it. So that's why I ordered the Velcro, and now I'm going to permanently Velcro it to the bottom of the monitor. And what a look the room has with the overhead lights matching the strip that goes below the monitors. It really gives it a neat look when I'm not racing. Like I said, it will follow my wallpapers, and they change every 30 seconds. So they'll change from green to red or yellow or whatever is being shown. And I love it. And it's expensive. I don't know if I was doing it again, I would, if I knew I was going to spend $300 on it, that I would do it. But I'm glad to have it.
So have you tried that track that's in France that you love running at night yet?
Yeah, I mean, the dark tracks with no lights are really neat because it gives this like almost a purple or whatever the dash looks like in the Ferrari. The one that David, you kept telling me which one, what was it? Sebring was the one I was trying, because Sebring is really dark, but it does have some lights in certain sections where there's like an overpass and it's all lit up. And so that's a really good test to kind of see it kind of go light to dark. But the videos that these people put out, I mean, I still haven't been able to match what they're trying to do, what they've come up with. And so it's a very subtle effect, but I still like it.
So in the next video that we're covering here, this guy thinks that switching to this type of force feedback is not just a subtle effect, but is a huge effect that should benefit everybody. It's called iRacing force feedback, which is really confusing, because couldn't you come up with a different name? Because if I see IRFFB, I'm thinking, oh, that's iRacing's force feedback. But you look at the video and you have iRacing's force feedback to IRFFB. And I did not go through and watch the whole video, but he shows how to set up VJoy, and it's basically a review video of the IR FFB, and he states his last section is actually entitled "Why Everyone Needs This."
I tried this like either last year or the year before. This thing is a pain in the ass to set up, and I didn't notice any difference. I think Chris Scales had tried this before too, and he was having issues with software and his wheel getting all messed up. So just stick with the real iRacing force feedback.
Yeah, and there are a whole bunch of steps, and you have to make sure you do them in order. And if it messes up, you have to restart this and restart that in the right order. It didn't sound convenient for sure.
Definitely a pain in the ass.
Yeah, this was sent in by listener Jason Bose, and I don't know if he's saying he's trying it or he's wondering if he should try it, but I have never used it. I have heard of teammates using it before, but I don't know if there's any on our show.
Like I said, I think Chris and I tried it, and we just went back to the normal thing.
Right. Right, Greg, how about some other software?
Let me take this. Mike, this is actually a new beta for Dre, DRE. People call it Dre, but it's the Digital Race Engineer. So it's kind of like their version of Pit Crew, where it can give you feedback during a race. It can make adjustments to your car and all kinds of stuff like that. So they have a new beta coming out, which is supposedly a new upgrade to the system. So I do know that I thought Dre was free, and you had to buy the voice attack, which is like the voice recognition part of it. So it wasn't a whole lot of money to get the voice attack, yeah, I do use Crew Chief. Dre did work really well when I tried it, but I don't know, for some reason I just didn't like those computerized sounding voices. I like the voice on the Crew Chief, where it's like a real person's voice and has some some humanity to it. You know what I mean? It just, to me, it felt more realistic. Although I know a lot of people love Dre, and I think in my opinion, it probably is a better system than Crew Chief. It's just I had a hard time listening to Stephen Hawking the whole time.
So you can't get the Dr. Dre voice pack?
That would be cool. Yeah, I've tried this before. It's been a couple of years. You have to buy the voice attack software. Then you get the Digital Race Engineer. I think there's a free version and a paid version. And what I remember of it is you really had to know the exact phrase to say to trigger what you wanted to trigger. And so in the heat of the moment, I could never remember exactly how I programmed it. And that's what it really comes down to. If you spend the time to dial it in and program it how you want it perfectly, this is really good software, but you really have to spend time on it and get it just perfect. This new beta was just released. As far as what's in it, there were a few things that were changed. I don't know enough about the software to really tell you about it, though. But thought we would talk about it and just remind people it's out there. I mean, if you run VR, I mean, this basically allows you to give voice commands like 2 tires instead of 4 tires, or no fuel, or that kind of thing. Or it'll also tell you, like, hey, the guy's catching you from behind, and do spotting kind of activities.
Yeah, and you're right, Mike. For VR, it's a really good thing to have, because it's so hard to fumble around for buttons when you can't see what you're touching for sure. Especially if you don't have like a large dashboard with buttons that you can pre-program. If you got to use a keyboard, forget about it when you're in VR. So this makes it a lot easier, and if it's working right, it's just a lifesaver.
This next company review, Brian, it's a kind of, would you call it an entry-level option?
I would say bargain basement type of thing. Yeah, it's called Axim's Formula Simulator, and what it is basically a Formula cockpit that you are going to climb into. And obviously, we're joking about that because this is a really high-end system. Um, it's retailing for £36,000. Looks like it probably weighs about half of that. Um,
It's a cheap
but
version too. That's the cheaper version.
So it's stripped down at 36,000 pounds. It's got 4 actuators, so it's going to be moving you around. You're going to be sitting in this cockpit, looking really cool. But yeah, so if that's what you're looking for, try checking out Axim's Formula Simulator Racing Cockpit. It's AXSIM.
Now, one thing I want to point out is when you click on it, and it talks about the motion system. They use a D-box haptic. Looks like maybe a 3-post. And then they have a yaw where the back will slide left or right. But the third one they mentioned this is really cool. It's called the Cranfield G Seat. And it says, in a real car, accelerations are transmitted to the driver through the seat. As the largest surface area that the body is in contact with, reproducing the same sensations in the simulator is highly important. Within the lining of the seat and belts, we fit our unique pneumatic pressure modules to provide sustained GQing. Multiple airbags expand and contract to provide sustained pressure, simulating the G-forces felt when cornering, braking, and accelerating. So this is kind of like that G Seat that Sims Experience does.
Right, because that's really cool. Because that's the hardest thing to simulate in these rigs is the G-force, and if you can get that right, man, you're getting really close to more realistic stuff all the time. So I mentioned the motion system was 36,000. The full motion is 59,500 pounds, and the full motion and G-force comes in just under 100,000 pounds.
Oh.
So Brian, it says finance options available. Are you going to get this? I know that full motion G-force I converted that. That's only about $140,451.
About.
Sign me up.
It looks cool though, that's for sure. Okay, next is I forgot a couple of sequential shifters in our review last week. Man, we get all these people on this team that tell me what I forget, and we still miss some. So we're going to go through a couple that I found that I realized we forgot. One of them was Derrick Spears Designs. He has a pro sequential shifter, and it's $300. I like this one because it's tall and big, and the base is fairly small. It looks like it's 3D printed almost, though.
I was going to say that it looks like 3D printed, or that's a really good looking metal.
Yeah. But $300, so yeah, not too bad. Derrick Spears Designs has a good, they make good stuff.
I was going to say, if it's $300, I hope it's metal.
Right. And then Brian, there was another one.
Yeah, there's the SimWorks Sequential Shifter. It's SIMWORX, and this comes in at 560 AUD, which I'm assuming is Australian dollars.
Yeah.
Not sure what that translates to in American dollars. This one is again a nice tall shifter. It's got a nice big cushion knob at the top, which looks really cool. It looks pretty easy to mount. It's got compared to the Derrick Spears design, the box that the actuator box inside is quite a bit bigger. But I think you can probably mount it pretty easily still because it's got a nice base plate with some holes in it for mounting.
Yeah, it looks solid. It's metal, and I like this one. I mean, it's got a good look to it. It's the billet CNC machined alloy is what they call it.
Yep. So there's two more options, guys, if you're looking for sequential shifters for that next gen car coming up. So I think between last week and this week, we really hit quite a few of them. Gave our listeners here lots of different options to think about for sequential shifters.
I was debating about getting one. That's why I put it on here to talk about anyway. And I'm kind of thinking not, especially after running Coda. Running Coda this week, I tried to imagine taking my hand off the wheel and reaching over and shifting every time I need to shift. That's not good for me to take my hand off the wheel. I need both hands on the wheel, and I'm pretty much happy with the paddle shifters. And I don't know that even if I had a sequential shifter, that I would be using it this week. And then when we're on an oval, I mean, you just come up to fourth gear and you're done shifting, right? And so do we really need it for ovals?
Well, I expect that you may be shifting quite a bit next year when we go to the 5-speed.
Right, going back and forth between fourth and fifth kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's not so hard to reach down there. I already have mine in sequential mode, even with the 4-speed. And yeah, you just most of the time you're heavy downshifting, you're keeping the wheel straight anyway, because you don't want to turn the wheel in a heavy braking zone. And then and it's kind of the same thing when you're upshifting. The wheel is almost straight anytime you're really going up or down the gears.
I was going to tell you last night, Mike. You probably need to turn your force feed back down if you could take one wheel or one hand, can't take one hand off the shift.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
So whenever we're trying out kind of our different resources for sets, it's always interesting to know how they're running. One good way that you can figure that out, which is really handy, is this little app called the Stint Analyzer. There we have a link to his iRacing forums post, as well as a YouTube video where he demonstrates how to use it. And this looks like very handy because it will track both your hot laps as well as 5-lap averages, 10-lap averages, and so. And you can even use it as you're testing and making changes on a setup, and use it as a way to see what your setup really did, instead of having to go through and type in all of the lap times to get your 10-lap and your 20-lap average. Because, hot lap just never really tells you what the car is going to do. This tells you more than that, even though it's still not going to tell you how it behaves in the race conditions, but it's good information to have. And this looks like it handles it for you.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it gives you the data of what happened in the practice or the race. All the drivers listed, their times and whatnot. But then what's really handy is that 5-lap average, 7-lap average, 10-lap average, 15-lap average, average time, and kind of see who's good on longer runs, who's fallen off, who's not fallen off. You can export this to Excel apparently, and then slice and dice it any way you want.
So is this live data or is it like after your session?
I think it's after the fact. I don't think it's live. But I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I literally just found this today. I put it out on our team chat to see if anybody would try it, to see if we can get some input, but I don't think anyone has. Now, it has another cool feature. It says built into the app is some Discord integration that allows us to send race updates and export data from your practice sessions to share with teammates. And they show an example of the Discord entries. The bot, so it's called the Stint Analyzer bot, and you put that in your Discord, and then it gives you information about what happened during the event.
So that means it's actually pulling off of the API. You're not having to just import after the fact.
It's doing it live, right? So maybe it is live. That would indicate it is a live thing, like Tony's asking.
Let's say that'd be good for like David when you do your practice A opens and see how you're doing compared to the other people doing live.
Mm-hmm. I also happen to usually have the stream up, right?
Yeah, some of the Discord entries here, I'm going to read them off just so you get a flavor. Ricky Thompson started a practice session at Kansas in the Ford Mustang Class A. Ricky Thompson started the lone qualifying session, etc. Pole winner was Kyle Busch with a lap time of 30.06.
Woo!
Well, the race is over, and Ricky Thompson came home P18 at Kansas Speedway. They had 0 cautions in the race and 0 incidents. The winner is Brad Keselowski.
Boo.
So I think it's free software. It's for Windows. The guy begs, hey, I'm not really a developer, and it might have some bugs, but hey, check it out. He has a website. It's stintanalyzer.com.
Tell you what, I just downloaded it. I will try it out for Indy tomorrow night.
Cool. And with that, we're going to move on to results. So let's get to it. And let's talk NIS and wrap up what happened last week with last week's race. So if I can find it. Dover. I got a DNF. Man, it got a meatball because I got wrecked on the last lap because some other fools that can't control their car. I had a top 10 going. I was in the top 10. But can you believe it? I mean, last lap, you get wrecked out like that. Not even be able to finish the race. I didn't even see what position I got. I was mad. David, P9.
Yeah, it was really good on the long run. I don't remember or didn't put much more information in that. It was good to have the P9, had a strong car at the end. Good points day.
All right, and then Steve Llewellyn, he got pole position. Congratulations to him. He did lead some laps there at the beginning, but got taken out early. Sorry, Steve, your luck is bad.
Looks like Tony Groves also had pole. Don't have any other information after that.
I'll say he didn't run NIS. He ran Indy with me.
Oh, that's right.
So that must have gotten put in accidentally.
So let's move on to Sunday Open. David, P11.
Yeah, probably would have. This was a top split run, I believe, and I probably would have gotten a top 10. But we had a caution come out right as I was running like P8 and was about to get lapped. And here comes Garrett Maines, and he's like, "Ooh, y'all lucky." And me and the guy in front, who were both, just struggling to still stay on the lap, we had to really rush to get back to the pit stop, and he spins and blocks the entire pit entry. And I end up with 90 seconds of damage on the yellow flag pit stop. So P11, it ruined his race a lot more than it ruined mine. But still, overall good result.
All right, Tom Dreiling, P, I don't know. Was trying some crazy tire ideas to keep an extra set in case of late cautions. I got taken out from some netcode and a driver that couldn't wait. Sunday fixed. I didn't finish the Dover race. I actually messed up with about 40 to go. The guy in front of me hit the wall, and I tried to escape low, but there was a guy down there, and I killed him and the field. And I didn't feel too bad about it because I was the guy who hit the wall. I was just trying to miss it. But you got to leave an escape route, I guess, even at Dover. And Brian, P wrecked.
Yeah, I actually wound up back on the track after a wreck and finished 19th, which actually kept me from dropping too much points. But boy, this race was an absolute S show. Probably there were 2 big wrecks within the first laps, and I got caught up in both of them. Had a terrible qualifying, so I started, midway through the field, and just got caught up in wrecks. I took a ton of damage, and just wound up sitting on pit road for 10 minutes getting stuff repaired, came back out, and managed to just get P19 just through distance, really.
Now, you and Tyler were in the same split, and I was kind of listening to you guys, and man, I felt like there should be circus music playing. I mean, the amount of cautions and nonsense that was going on in that race and your bottom split was just horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty much right. It did need its own theme music, something laughable for sure.
All right, and then Tyler, he ended up P-wrecked. He stunk up the show with a 17th place finish, hit everything but the pace car since it was hiding behind a wall. Even tagged my own teammate. Bye-bye to Miles the Monster. He was not kind to me. Sorry, B-Mac, for the spin.
Yeah, that really wasn't his fault. I was actually off the pace a little bit. It was before I got all my after the first caution, before I got really banged up the second time, and I was actually trying to get out of the way, running the bottom line, and I just came down in front of him to give him the top line, and he actually bumped into the back of me just because I was off the pace. Really, it's just terrible all the way around.
All right, and now we move on to Texas or COTA. David, P21.
Yeah, I should have done better than this, but I got slammed hard with a 4X into the rear on the pace lap. Hard enough that my rear bumper was completely gone, and I had no downforce on the back anymore. It cost me about 2 seconds per lap alone. Not so great. Then that same guy, he dives bombed me on lap 1. I'm able to kind of just let him get by with only having a really bad lap. Then he dives bomb a car right in front of me and takes him out, and then he spins himself out, and he ends up finishing last, all on lap 1. So yeah, I hope he learned his lesson. You got to finish and not drive like an idiot in one lap and just take yourself out. I don't understand why these guys continue to do this. They've had a Class A license, and they can't complete one lap without doing 3 stupid moves in the same lap.
They need to throw $100,000 into the fire and hit themselves on the head with a baseball bat.
There needs to be a protest for being an idiot. And you get enough idiot punches in your card, and you miss a week or something.
But who was being the idiot?
This guy. He hits somebody in the pace lap. He then dives bombs me and dives bombs another guy, spins him out, and then self-spins himself.
Okay. I look back, I didn't see any dive bombing, but it was your incident where you spun yourself out was on you.
No, you're looking at the wrong incident. This is a completely different car. I'm not talking about the guy you're thinking about. No. I'm talking about a different guy that took himself out on lap 1. The one who hit me under pace laps. Yeah, you're looking at the wrong one.
Okay.
So we went into this race, I did, with very nervous. I mean, I was thinking I'm not going to finish because of the incident limit thing. And my practices indicated such. Like, I could not make a practice lap without a 1X or 2X or 3X or whatever. And I just couldn't do it. So I was actually ready to bet money with the guys, hey, when am I going to DQ out? And I actually thought it was going to be lap 12. Greg, I think you said lap 20. But guess what? I actually finished P16. Had 20X. There was a drive-through penalty at one point, but a great run. And I had no idea I could get through it. I guess, when you're in a race conditions, I don't know if it's just me, but I do it differently than if I'm in practice. And I can be in practice all day long and pretend it's a race condition and pretend. And I'll still get those 1Xs, but put me in the race and I won't. And I somehow survived and finished. So, man, I'm happy with that run. Tony, P7.
I know. What's up with this? Daytona Road, I had a 4th place finish. I think I had the best of the team. And now, as of right now, with a P7 best of the team, even though it was bottom split, I stayed clean pretty much most of the race. I had a hell of a battle with 2 laps to go with what was then P7 with the super fast leader that was right behind us. I don't know if he was wanting to pass us or not, but I was not giving up a spot. I did race with Kyle Pentagraph. He was catching me on new tires, but maybe like about 8 laps to go. He kind of had an issue and fell back. I had fun at COTA, except for a couple of the off track, which probably need to be like opened up a little bit more. But yeah, Mike, unlike you, I thought I was going to have a have a hell of a time that maybe getting DQ'd or something like that. But I ended up only surviving with 11X.
Yeah, I think we both ran better than expected. I mean, Kyle's race, I mean, he sounded exasperated. He sounded out of air. He sounded like he wasn't breathing. He sounded like he was struggling to keep that car under him.
Sounded like he was underwater.
Yeah, he had mic problems too. Yeah.
But no, the Coda, I there were some turns that I absolutely love in that track. Turn one, like you guys were talking about, that uphill. I was about halfway through the race. I was loving that corner. Through the S's, that was awesome. I had a couple those the second half of the track that were hard braking, but end up towards the race, I started figuring those out, and yeah, that's a fun track. Still a lot better than Sonoma.
Turn one is fun when you hit it perfect, but when you don't hit it perfect, it's not fun. Where I struggle is going down the really long straights and then the really sharp turn at the end of the straight. I cannot see the apex. It's literally in the A-post of the car. And I don't know if I'm just not visually seeing it, but I'm having a hard time judging my speed and how fast I'm slowing down as I'm approaching that corner and getting to the right speed and hitting the apex. And I'm missing it more than I'm hitting it. It's hard.
I think the advantage of VR helped a lot of people out. I know it helped me out, probably David and Greg too.
I have my head turned about 45, 50 degrees. I'm looking at the corner. I'm not looking at forward anymore. I'm looking out the driver's side window making that turn.
Yeah, you're basically looking above the mirror on the driver's side to see where you're turning into, just to try and find it. And then if you're racing somebody in those big sweeping wide corners, you're looking both ways. VR definitely helps at a track like this.
I think you're right. I think I'm actually at a disadvantage with the triple monitors. Like I said, with the A-post thing and issue, like you said, if I look above the driver's mirror, or the side mirror, I can see where that corner is, but it's almost too late at that point. When you get to see it, it's almost like a blind corner the way it's laid out. But anyway, I ran today. I was surprised by the run last night, so why not?
I didn't have my results in.
Yeah, Greg, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your race? I didn't have it listed here.
Yeah, I forgot to put it in. I finished P10 there in the same split that I was racing with David there. I qualified P9 and I finished 10th. Basically just had, what did I call it, a Sunday drive last night. The set was okay. It needs some work on the front end. It wasn't didn't have a lot of grip near the end of a run, but I made it through and was able to get a top 10 out of it. Normal road course racing for me.
Well done. Yeah, I got a P10 today. There were only 22 cars in the race, though. There were 40-something drivers for today's NIS race. So I think there were 2 splits, and we were bottom split. And I qualified 14th. I was 10th by lap 1, by the end of lap 1. I ended up spinning off a few times by myself, but recovered pretty quickly. I did get a drive-through penalty for too many incidents with 4 to go. I was 16x forever. I was just like, oh my God, if I can just get through this without getting 17, I'm going to have I think I was running 8th at the time. But I ended up getting it, and so I had to go through the drive-through, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fall out of the top 10 now. But guess what? I think I went into the drive-through penalty 9th and came out 9th with 10th right behind me. And so I had enough time cushion on him that I was able to beat him out and not lose any positions. And so the pressure was on at that point to not screw up and let him get around me. And I didn't. There was another guy who was behind him who was faster, who got around both of us. And then that put me back to 10th. But hey, a top 10 at a track I didn't even own, 4 days ago. Hell yeah, I'll take it. Let's talk fixed Indy 500. Tony, you were the man. You tried it a bunch of times.
Yeah, I tried it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday, I ended up probably the best race. Top 4 all race. About 75 laps to go on a restart. This car is 2 laps down. We're going into turn 1. I kind of get loose just a little bit, and he runs me over and destroys me. I don't think I've ever been so mad at another person like that. I go back, I look at his profile, and the guy looks like a douche.
Probably is.
But Saturday, I wrecked myself. Turn 1, I got tight right in the wall and exploded the car. Sunday, another wreck. I actually came back for being 2 laps down because I ended up screwing up a pit road. I accidentally hit the pit limiter button and I sped, and somehow I ended up getting another penalty. The first penalty was there was an accident, and there was a car that was slowly making its way to pit road, and just before we get to pit road, I go in the pit, and he slams on his brakes and gives me a black flag then. But not, I got my laps back. I was passing this car. This car in front of him decides to veer left into the wall and just take me out. Hopefully all my wrecking at Indy is all done and we can have a good weekend this weekend.
All right. Well, well done. I think it's good that you're trying. We didn't have a lot of teammates running it. To finish up Indy 500 stuff, Pacific Majors, we have Tom Dreiling listed as P12. Got into an accident on lap 1, used up his one quick repair, had to play defense the rest of the race. Was able to miss everything around me. I'll take the 12th place finish. All right, Fast Track Sim Racing League. Monday nights, I got P11. I ran a 3-stop strategy when most people ran a 2-stop strategy. I thought it was going to pay off, but it didn't. It was caution-free race. Brian, you got P15.
Yeah, I did do a 2-stop strategy, and I just was too worn out by the end of these long runs. Once you commit to that strategy, you're kind of stuck with it. So I think I would have been better off doing a 3-stopper because I was just so slow. I mean, by the time you're down to 66, 67, 68 laps, man, you're just not moving. You get off the corners, you can't do nothing. So I'm not the fastest at Dover. It's not my best track by any means, and so I just stayed in it. It was a clean race, though. Other than an early mess up just because of somebody glitching, the whole race stayed green the whole way. That's pretty crazy at Dover. After that race I just had Sunday night, it was unbelievable. It wasn't like this whole different game.
Yeah, Dover's tough when there's no caution. I mean, you're just worn out, and I like doing the 3-stop over the 2 just because I'm passing cars, typically, or they're passing me, and so we're on totally different tires. And Brian, I'd see you coming and I'd let you go, or I'd be coming on you and you'd let me go, and it it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because when you have half the field on 2 different strategies, the closing rate between cars on old tires and new tires is so fast. It's really hard to believe that there wasn't just an easy, simple mistake. Just somebody came up so fast, I didn't see you coming, caused a wreck. That kind of thing. But man, stayed green. That was pretty impressive. The car count was a lot higher than last week too. I think we got up to the mid-20s this week compared to 16, I think was last week.
Yeah, and change is coming. Mike Morley said that they are changing to the next-gen car, and so he's going to come back racing, he said. And then, Greg, you're going to join us too.
Yeah, I got a little bit more time coming up on weeknights now since I'm switching jobs. I quit my job and finishing tomorrow, and I'm starting a new job where I don't have to start till about 6 o'clock in the morning now instead of the 2 a.m.s where I've been recently.
No more wood?
No more wood.
What are you hauling?
It'll be bricks this time. Bricks and masonry.
Well, that's a heavier load, huh? All right, let's talk Tom Dreiling Premier Race Network Cup League. Guess what? He won P1. Congratulations. Qualified ninth. Did not have get off speed. Guess that's been my season. Was able to work myself to the lead just before lap 50 when the top 5 guys decided to make a 3-pit stop race. My long run speed was great, so I decided to do the 2-stopper. I was able to lap the field and take home my 2nd win of the season. Lap the field. Wow. Tony, tell us about the Aftermath Truck Series.
Oh, just like we do on the Aftermath, we don't pay attention to our sponsored series, but Josh Robinson at 23 won the truck race at Coda. Dwayne MacArthur won second, and Eddie Jones finished third.
All right, well done. And with that, final thoughts, Brian McCubbin.
I'm gonna have a new product that I'm gonna be putting on my rig. I'll catch you guys up on it next week when I get it installed.
What?
Yeah, I had a couple weeks, and I've just been too busy to really work on it. But I'm gonna fill you all in on it. Steve Thompson from OBRL told me about the product, and I picked it up. It was actually pretty inexpensive, relatively speaking, under $50. But supposedly it makes a big difference in VR racing. So I'll fill you in on that. I'll give you a little hint. It's called motion compensation. And I'll give you a little heads up on how that goes, installing it and what it makes in the rig.
Ooh, exciting.
Is that the thing that Scales was talking about? Too?
I'm not sure. I don't remember him saying anything about it. It might have, because he's...
The thing Scales was talking about is it, I guess, increases the resolution a little bit more in your VR.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I was confused on which product it was.
Yeah, this one you buy a little actuator that not an actuator. It's like a sensor that can sense 9 different degrees of motion, and you hook it to your computer. There's some software that's involved with it, and it compensates the motion of the rig with what you see in VR.
So it's motion for your VR headset.
It's kind of like that. Yes.
Okay.
You sure you don't want to buy that $150,000 the Formula rig?
He needs the airbags.
So.
All right, David Hall, final thoughts.
Yeah, hopefully we can still a good finish here at Coda and or Indy. We'll see how it goes. That's about it.
All right, and Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I'm just I'm looking forward to getting back in racing more here. It's been tough working the schedule I have been, and now it looks like I can get some more time on here, and it'll be good to work with Morley on making some sets here and for both cars and go further here. I just wanna get back streaming.
All right, welcome back. Congrats on the new job. Tony Rochette, final thoughts.
All right, definitely. If you can make a donation and come hang out with us in the charity race on June 11th there, that'd be awesome. I'm done with Coda for the week. I wish I would have been able to start earlier today, but I couldn't. But I'm going to attempt maybe 2 or 3 more Indies this week. I need to back up that Indy 500 win that I had last year, and I had no milk.
Yeah, go get it. I think you have a good chance tomorrow, so I'm going to run with you if I can get my wheels sorted. My final thoughts is, I'm about ready to spend $50. I'm going to go sign up for Kyle's iRacing League, and I'm going to send him $25 so I can win that Track Time Entertainment 80/20 rig because I want a new rig. And then I'm going to spend $25 at the K9 charity. What was it called, Tony?
The Project K9 Hero 200. And
there you go.
You can win that and get yourself some spotter lights.
Hey, did we get a doggy name on our car again, like last time? Or is that something we just did?
That's something we did. We kind of had like the iRock paints last year with the dog's name. The thing with what I figured to be kind of cool is you can go on the site, you can find a dog and do your own paint job, and that'll get you $10. If
Definitely doing that.
There you go. Let's all get dogs on the car. Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to spend $50. I think it's a money well spent. Yeah, and also, COTA, man, I'm not a road course driver, and I don't pretend to be, but I somehow survived that race and performed better than half the people in it, and that was surprising to finish in the top half and get some good points. In fact, the 16th place finish got me more points than the 10th place finish. And so that tells you about strength of field and that kind of thing. So excited, surprised. I'll try the Indy 500 and we'll see what we can do there. And with that, we'll see you on the track later. All right, title ideas.